Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Almost Game Day, a very special edition of Almost Game Day. As always, I'm your host, Sean Green, and the big news this week, obviously, if you're a UCF football fan, everybody knows what it is. Gus Malzahn is officially the UCF head football coach. This is going to be an entire show dedicated to the new hires, what we can expect from Gus Malzahn, because this is the biggest news of the week. So we're going to get right into it. Listen, many people in the UCF Twitter world, UCF fan base, it was a crazy last week. There were rumors from everybody saying, oh, it's going to be Jeff Lebby. Oh, Kevin Smith might just be the head coach. Oh, let's go get the OC from North Carolina. But no, it actually happened. Gus Malzahn, former Auburn head coach, is now officially the UCF head coach. And many people around the college football world are saying this is the biggest hire in this coaching carousel and for a group of 5 team ever. Now, I think a lot of us know UCF is the closest thing to a Power 5 team that you can get. UCF's brand is much better than a lot of Power 5 schools. You just look at some of, you look at SEC schools, for instance, right? Missouri. UCF's brand is much bigger than a school like Missouri's. You can go to the ACC, and the number one team you look at is Clemson, then Miami. But you go to all these other schools and you're like, UCF's brand is much bigger than that. So what happens when you bring a guy like Gus Malzahn to UCF? Signs on the dotted line to be the next head coach. You bring notoriety. You bring a guy that has won at the highest level of college football, the SEC West. That's the hardest division in college football. So this right here is Gus Malzahn talking at his introductory press conference on Monday. Just talking about the opportunity that he has at UCF and why this job was just so attractive to him.
Truly believe that this is a program of the future in college football. And the reason I believe that is the foundation's been built with the players before, with the coaches that have been here before, and I think it's in a great shape, and I'm excited to be a part. Our goals are going to be pretty simple. It's to win championships, to get in the college football playoffs, and we're excited about that, and then to play in New Year's Six bowl games. Offensively, you heard Terry, talk to the players about one explosive offense, and we're going to have that. I have experience in this league. I was at Tulsa, I think, in 2007, 2008. We were the number one offense in the country 2 years in a row. We had a quarterback threw for 5,000 yards. I think we had 3 1,000-yard receivers and a 1,000-yard rusher. And of course, the next year we threw for 4,000. So I've got experience in this league. We can continue to build on the high-flying offense that we have, and our goal to be in the top 10. Defensively, we're going to be multiple. We're going to be aggressive. Our goal to be in the top 10 defense too. For the last 5 years at the previous school I was at, we were in the top 15. And I really believe if you're going to truly win a championship, you've got to play championship defense. It can't just be offense. That's what I told our players today, and really
So let's talk about the offense for a sec, all right? Because a lot of UCF fans especially were just a little bit nervous about the offense because, again, you go from a guy like Scott Frost to Josh Heupel using that same type of offense. And many thought, oh, bring Jeff Lebby in, and it's going to be that high-powered offense too because he's worked on the staff. A lot of people, right when Gus Malzahn was the rumored hire that many people thought he was going to be the hire, you saw a lot of UCF fans get a little nervous because, as you know, Auburn's offense the past couple years hasn't been to its standard. It's kind of hit a standstill. They were a young team. They were a very young team, especially in the SEC. When you're young, if you're not Alabama and you're young, that's rough. You're not going to be winning many football games, especially on offense. But Gus Malzahn is known for the hurry-up offense. He wrote a book on that specific offense. So if you're a UCF fan and you're nervous about this offense, I wouldn't fret. I think Gus Malzahn especially knows what kind of offense UCF has. It's this hurry-up type of offense, run it quick, run the ball, do a play action. That's what made Auburn so successful. Now, the question, and I think a lot of UCF fans have the last couple years just struggled with, is there's times to do it and there's times to not, right? If you are just not doing good scoring the football and you have a couple 3-and-outs, right? You need to slow the ball down just a tad. Still do your offense. But that's been the problem for UCF the past couple years. Now, he also says the defense. We need a top 15 defense. The man's not wrong. Last year, you have a top 5 offense in the country. But then your defense is one of the worst in the country. Now, you can blame the opt-outs. You can blame the couple guys that got cut from the program that were veteran players. You can blame it on that. But you have to call it like it is. You have to hold yourself accountable. UCF's defense was one of the worst in the country. That's why they went 6-4. You have that type of offense. If you have a great defense, you're getting into that top 10. There's no questions about it. So, with that being said, I want to bring on pretty much our number one college football fan. We talked to her a couple weeks ago. Kelly Campbell is joining us on Almost Gameday to talk all things UCF and all of their hires. Kelly, how are you doing with this hire?
Oh, I'm ecstatic with this hire. This is exactly who I said I wanted. Was it 2-3 weeks ago? And I couldn't be happier that this is our new head coach. Thanks for having me on. How are you?
I'm good. I'm much better that UCF has a coach now, and especially a guy like Gus Malzahn. Originally, and I'm not going to lie here, my number one guy was Jeff Levy. And that was a very simple thing. I really wanted a coach that the players knew. But right when Gus Malzahn got hired, and I watched the press conference, I think you could just see the guy really wants to be here. What were your impressions of his press conference, and what is your initial thoughts on what Gus Malzahn can bring to the UCF program?
I thought he did excellent in his press conference, about as well as you can do for an introductory. But I liked everything that he said. I think he looked excited. He looked fresh. He looked ready to go. This is a new program. This is a new state. I think this is exactly where he wants to be. I actually was watching the live stream on Twitter, and there was a lot of Auburn fans also tuning in saying, this is the most excited I've seen him in a long time. You guys got a good one. It's going to be great for you. So I can't wait till the fall. I'm super excited. It's only up from here, so.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, right? You said a bunch of Auburn fans are just talking so highly of him, and they said he's never looked this excited for a couple years. And I think when you look at the SEC West and you look at the boosters for Auburn and you look at Auburn fans, you could say that gets to you after a while, right? You have a freshman starting at quarterback, and they're expecting you to win almost every one of your games. They're expecting you to beat Alabama. Here, now, the expectations are still high, but it's a little less competition, right? And you have a much better team to work with in regards to an offense and defense. So when you're talking about those Auburn fans, right, what is that less stress level? You know, he took those 8 weeks off, right? How is that going to play into Gus having those 8 weeks off to now take this job instead of doing TV radio? What do you think, Kelly?
Honestly, I think kind of being fired from Auburn was a little bit of a slap in the face. I mean, you look at a man who's beat Nick Saban 3 times in the last 7 years. No one else in the SEC has done that. If I was him, I would be really upset. He had a lot of time off to think about it, really delve on how he was feeling. So now that he has this fresh eyes, this fresh perspective, I think UCF is exactly the program he needed to land at, to do what he wanted to do, and he could really make something huge out of this school. So he has a great opportunity in front of him.
Yeah, there's no question there's a great opportunity, and I think you've seen the difference in the Twitterverse, right? There was a rumor that Gus was getting hired, and, you know, there was, like, people just so upset. And I think in 24 hours, you go on UCF Twitter, and just, I don't see one negative comment about this guy. What are your thoughts on UCF fans, and what should UCF fans, I wouldn't say expect, but what should UCF fans understand about this hire instead of another guy that was in the coaching, carousel?
Honestly, I've been excited about Gus since the moment our old coach was gone. I was like, oh, this is amazing. So UCF Twitter, when I saw the tweets of them not wanting Gus, I was like, what are you saying? This is an SEC coach. This is someone who has been like a national name for over 30 years. Why would we not want him? Why would we not want him to take his knowledge, take everything that he's learned in the past 30 years, coaching everywhere, coaching in what people say is the #1 conference in college football? Why would we not want him to come here and grow the program and blossom it? I expect big things from him, not in the first year, but in the first couple. I expect big things from him. I expect conference champions. I expect like higher recruiting classes. So I think he's going to get it done, and I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, we'll talk all about that very shortly, but let's jump in to our new defensive coordinator, right? Travis Williams. He coached at Auburn with, Gus Malzahn. He was, one of Gus Malzahn's guys. He played for Gus Malzahn, obviously, when Gus was an OC. When you look at this hire, right, everybody's ecstatic. Miami fans, he left Miami. He was only with Miami for 2.5 weeks. Miami fans are so upset because this guy is known to be a killer recruiter. He's one of, if not the best recruiters in the country when it comes to linebackers, defensive players, and even offensive players. Because being a former player, he can attract to the now players and basically say, listen, this is why we want you here at UCF. So Travis Williams got introduced a couple days ago in his introductory press conference and just said how much this defense is going to play with him as the defensive coordinator.
Just what you're going to see on defense, we're going to get to the ball with relentless effort, like our hair is on fire. Like it's going to be the main thing you see. You want to see us put a blanket over our defense and have 11 guys to the ball. We're going to have fun. We're going to have great energy. I mean, this is, I'm just so fired up, to be at UCF, to be able to call the plays and be able to serve these young men. That's what it's all about, just serving the young men and being here for them and just making sure that college experience is a great experience on it.
So you could just see it in the press conference. This guy is just a joy to listen to, and it gets you fired up. Hell, I wanted to go run through a brick wall, listen to him speak. I wanted to go do that for him. So Kelly, what are your thoughts on Travis Williams? Obviously, we don't know what's going on with Randy Shannon, what that's going to look like if he's gone, but what are your initial thoughts on Travis Williams as the new DC?
I love this hire. As soon as I saw the video on Twitter of him talking to the players, the way he was talking to them, getting them hyped up, getting them excited, I think that's exactly what the locker room needs. We need our defensive players to get excited. We need them motivated, and I think he is exactly the man to get that job done and keep recruiting these guys to continue to make that legacy with the defense. I think he's perfect for the job, and I'm so excited to, see us potentially have a top 15 defense. That would be great. So.
Yeah, and that locker room, especially in the defense, is very young. Like, we have a bunch of, sophomores that are going to be starting next year. And I think one of the main concerns for UCF fans, and one of my main concerns was, listen, the defense was not good under Randy Shannon for a couple of years. It was not, and everybody can call it like it is. But Randy Shannon is a great recruiter. He brings a lot of great players to the program, players that maybe UCF wouldn't have gotten 5-10 years ago. So to see UCF get a guy like Travis Williams to come here who is known for his great recruiting, and listen, if you look at the guys he's recruited over the past couple of years, he doesn't recruit low-end 3-stars. He's going to get these 4 or 5-star guys, and he relates to them. So how do you think a guy that is younger than Randy Shannon, Kelly, how do you think he can relate to these players now than Randy could?
Honestly, because of his age. He played in the early 2000s, and he can still kind of relate to these guys who are playing now. The game, while it's different, it's still kind of more similar to his playing style versus Randy Shannon, who played even longer ago. But I think he's going to be able to connect with these guys on defense a lot better, and I think that's what's been missing the past couple years, is really that connect to where they can be a family and they can play as a family. And when you're playing as a family instead of as an individual player, you get more work done. You get those 3rd down stops. You don't let them convert on the 4th down. You don't let them get even a second option to get a 1st down. So if we can stop the other teams from scoring with this amazing defense he's going to build, I am here for it.
Yeah, and I think I want to show one more clip from the press conference because UCF fans, this is the most excited I've seen a defensive coordinator. Travis Williams' personality alone is going to get fans and players excited. So I want to play one more clip from his press conference, basically of him just saying why UCF was so great of a job and that he couldn't pass up.
It piqued my interest, and I was like, oh, absolutely, UCF. Yeah, coach, when can I sign up? So it was a no-brainer. It was a no-brainer. When he called me and he asked me, and I was like, Coach, absolutely. I want to be there with you. I want to be there with you to help you build this thing and win championships. Because, Coach, if you heard the press conference, it's all about championships. It's all about championships. So, you know, just being around a guy that dreams big and being able to see him win championships and do that, you know. So it was a no-brainer for me.
That relationship between Malzahn and Williams is, I think, going to prove to be very successful for the Knights. Kelly, one last thing before we go to break. Randy Shannon, right? Every UCF fan knows him now. There's been no news about if he's even leaving. We assume he's leaving because, you know, we have a new defensive coordinator. So do you think there's a possibility Shannon stays on the staff as, like, you know, an overseer of the defense, not really calling plays, not like doing all that stuff? Or do you think he's gone? What are your initial thoughts on Randy Shannon and how he's going to be implemented?
I think, honestly, it depends on, first of all, how he feels, if he even wants to stay. But I think they could definitely put him like position, like linebacker coach, or even put him in recruiting. If he's an excellent recruiter, have him go and work closer with the people who are recruiting these kids. So, I mean, if a better job is offered to him, I think he should take it, because why not? But if he does have his heart here at UCF, then I could definitely see him working on those smaller areas on the team where we really need, like, the fine tuning. I think he'd be great at that.
Absolutely. We will see. We have no idea. We will see probably in the coming days where Randy Shannon's going to lay. But we're not focused on that. We're focused on the future of UCF football, and that's recruiting. So when we come back, we're going to talk about Gus Malzahn already starting to get on the recruiting trail for the next couple years to see who he's given offers to. Is it just the same offers we've been given the past couple years, or is he, you know, taking some swings? Stay tuned to Almost Game Day. We'll be right back.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated champs, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back. Okay, always locked in, now I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask.
Welcome back to Almost Game Day. Like I said, recruiting, right? Here's my thoughts on UCF's recruiting, especially the past couple years, right? Obviously, when Scott Frost got here, it's really hard to recruit when you're an 0-12 football team. That's just the facts. You're not going to get a lot of higher-end 3-star recruits or even like 4-star or 5-star out of the question, right? Josh Heupel comes in off of an already successful program that Scott Frost builds up. Josh Heupel the past couple of years, right? And again, there's been polls on Twitter of, oh, who would you rather have, Gus Malzahn, Josh Heupel? Josh Heupel's getting like less than 1%, which I didn't even think was possible in a Twitter poll. So you're looking at, you know, recruiting the past couple years. And you're starting to see this trend of not recruiting Florida players. And listen, stars don't matter. I want to, you know, preface that, right? So when we're saying 4- and 5-star recruits, it doesn't matter what star you're ranked, right? Like Dylan Gabriel's a 3-star recruit. And I think a lot of Power 5 schools would think he's a 4- or 5-star recruit right now. Mackenzie Milton, same way. But with that being said, to get a 4- or 5-star recruit, you think they have higher upside than, you know, a 2-star recruit. Josh Heupel stuck to 3-star, lower end, out of Florida, which sounded weird because you have a bunch of talent in, again, like Gus Malzahn said, Central Florida and all around Florida. And now we're starting to see a little bit of a shift. But first, before we get into that, I want to play a clip from the press conference where Gus Malzahn really talks about recruiting and what his plans are for him as the head coach on the recruiting trail.
We're going to recruit Florida like nobody else. We're going to recruit like our hair is on fire. We're going to go after the best players in America, and we're not backing down to anybody. We've got a lot to offer here, and we're going to put together a staff that will be able to do that. And, what I was telling Terry in the interview process, the unique thing about this, the last 8 years, the footprint that we'll be recruiting in, I've already got experience. I already know the top players, I already know the coaches and everything that goes on. Florida will be our priority, but we'll also recruit Georgia, we'll recruit Alabama, and we'll recruit South Carolina. Now, if we have relationships outside of certain players, we will, but we're going to spend our most of our time within a 6-hour circle. And so I'm very excited about the opportunity as far as
Not backing down to nobody. Hair on fire. Those are some of the words you just heard. In a recruiting, we're going to go after the best players. We're not backing down to nobody. Just in the past couple days, Malzahn has offered, I'm not going to give an exact number because it's changing every single day, but I'd say a good 10 plus recruits. And again, stars don't matter, but he has offered a bunch of 4 stars, a couple 5 stars, and only 1 3-star. Stars don't matter. I'm going to sound like a broken record because any player that comes to UCF can make an impact. And that's just shown in the players that came in that 2017 season. But the fact he's going after these guys that UCF wouldn't have dared even offering. Heupel wouldn't have offered a 4-star recruit. That's off limits. No way. UCF has no chance to get that. It's almost like he framed his mindset to assume we're only good enough to get these guys. Gus Malzahn has been here less than a week and has said, we're not doing that approach. We are one of the best programs in the country. We can get any guys that want to come here. We can get the best guys. And guess what? We can do it in our own backyard in Florida. We can go up to Alabama, get some. We can go to Georgia and get some. He's not backing down. And you can see it on Twitter. If you're a UCF fan and you don't know about the guys that he's offering, please go on Twitter and see the offers and see what these athletes are liking. Because UCF fans, they're liking all of UCF's fans' tweets. I'm telling you, there's a shift that's happened in less than a week with Gus Malzahn as the head coach. Kelly, I want to bring you on to really talk about this because, again, when you talk about American Conference, non-Power 5, you don't really go and recruit 4 or 5 stars. But in less than a week, Malzahn has gone out and has offered a bunch of 4 stars, a couple 5 stars. So what are your thoughts on Gus doing this? And do you think UCF will ultimately be successful?
I'm happy he's recruiting these higher end guys because we have been scared to the past couple years. Like you mentioned earlier, we are one of the top tier group of 5 programs. We're about as close as you can get to being a Power 5 school without actually being a Power 5 school. And we should recruit like we are. If the bottom end schools of like Power 5 schools can recruit these 4 or 5-star guys, why can't we? Why wouldn't they want to come play here? UCF is doing something special, and I think anybody who's watching can see that. We're trying to make it big. We're one of the, top 5 universities for the biggest student enrollment. What are we, 60, 70,000 kids now?
I think we're number 1, to be honest with you.
Yeah, honestly, I know we were getting up there, so I wouldn't be surprised. Why wouldn't you want to come here? It's a perfect location. So I think even just giving these kids the opportunity, hey, come here, do something special, stay in your home state. I also really liked that he said the 6-hour radius for recruiting. I think that's a great idea. That way these kids are close to home. That makes them want to come and really do something special for a team right in their own backyard.
And I think he knows. You don't need to go all the way to Arizona. Now, we have a couple Arizona players, a couple quarterbacks, and it's not saying, we shouldn't go get that. He even said, we'll still go outside of our 6-hour, window if we have relationships with people. But why go get guys if we have them right here that are the top in the nation? Everybody recruits Florida. Gus Malzahn said he's been recruiting in Florida for 11 years, Central Florida especially. So why go? The problem that a lot of people had with Heupel is it just looked like he went to every other state but Florida. He didn't recruit Florida. And one of my friends said it best. It looked like we had better recruiting ties with Hawaii and Germany than Florida. That makes no sense. Absolutely no sense. Shout out to Robert Husby for that little tidbit. We get more 4-star recruits from Hawaii than we do in Florida. That's absurd. Here's Gus Malzahn at a press conference. He said some really interesting things. A lot of UCF fans are nervous. They're like, oh, he's going to leave in a couple of years. He's going to leave. He's too good of a coach to stay. In his press conference, I think he probably changed a lot of UCF fans' minds.
There's no doubt. This is a job that I would say that I've been interested in a long time. You know, just looking at the big picture as coaches and looking ahead. You know, you say, non-power, best non-power 5 job. You know, we need to change the narrative. This is going to be one of the best programs in college football in a short period of time. And at times they've been that way. And so that's another goal of mine, as far as that goes. But, this is a job that I'm planning on being here and building it. And like I said, that's what really makes me tick. Now, you ask about, well, why did you set out for a power? This, to me, is one of the top 20 coaching jobs in all of college football.
Now, after that press conference, I had a lot of people come up and say, oh, that's press conference talk, right? It's introductory press conference talk. He's basically just hoping and telling the fans, oh, I'm planning on being here. No. Listen, I thought the same thing, right? I'm thinking SEC head coach coming to UCF. He might be here 3 years, and then he'll go back. He's 55 years old. Auburn aged him. Like, think about how long he was at Auburn, all the stuff he had to deal with at Auburn. I get it. It's SEC school, top of the mountain. But the way I hear him in that press conference, I want to be honest. I think he knows. He knows something. He knows, listen, if I stay here and I build this program up to be one of the top in college football, it'll become a Power 5 school. Everybody talks Big 12. That is a possibility in the coming years. UCF is on the top of the list to go to a Power 5 conference. It's in a perfect spot in Orlando. Nice weather. Great recruiting hotbed for players. Gus Malzahn understands that. I think that's why he wanted the job so much. He didn't want the Tennessee job. Heupel, go take that job. I'm not taking that job. No playoff for however many years. What's the punishment going to be to Tennessee? You have recruits decommitting from Tennessee because they don't want to deal with it. Gus Malzahn wants to be here. And I think you see it in that press conference. Kelly, you watched the press conference. He says, listen, I want to be here. I'm going to build this program up. Do you believe him, or do you think he's just trying to make the fans happy?
Honestly, it could be both. I don't know if he's just a smooth talker, but I believe him. I think he's going to stay. He has the opportunity, like I said earlier, to do something really special here, to get us finally over that hump, get us into the Power 5, get us winning these big games. We're so close to winning and just keep dropping. He has that potential to really do something big here, really do something special in one of the greatest cities in Florida. Why would he not want to do that? He could have a legacy that would outlive him doing something so great for a school like UCF, which is something we wanted so bad to be taken seriously. And I think having a coach of his stature taking us seriously, I feel really good about it. I think he'll stay.
And I think some players, especially recruits, are, I think, getting that sense too. I think he's telling these recruits, I'm going to be here. You're not going to get me for a year and then, I'm going to leave. It'll be interesting. I'm really intrigued because the way he's acting and the way he's talking, again, it could just be, a complete mirror. He's just trying to keep UCF fans happy. He doesn't want to deal with people saying he's going to leave. But even in his recruiting, if he was going to stay for a year or two, I just think he would be doing the same thing Heupel did. Why would he be recruiting these top guys if he was going to leave in a couple years? I think he would want to coach those guys if they start committing to UCF. He's already sending offers for the class of 2023. So it's this notion, it's this real understanding that you have this big-time coach, and he wants his legacy. Imagine this man's legacy. If he makes UCF, a top 4 team. Paul Feinbaum, a couple days ago, somebody asked him, do you think UCF being a top 4 team is sustainable? Do you think that is a possibility? Because Gus Malzahn said it. Gus Malzahn said, I think we can be a top 4 team in a very short period of time. Even Paul Feinbaum, an SEC guy, said, I think that's not so far out of the question. Because think about it. You have Heupel, right? I think, and tell me if I'm wrong, Kelly, I think if you have a undefeated football team or a one-loss football team, right, having Josh Heupel as your coach compared to Gus Malzahn, instead of being 8, you might be 6 on that, college football playoff ranking. Am I wrong there?
No, you're not wrong. It definitely has to do with the brand. It's not just how many games you won or how you lost. It depends on the team. It depends on the coach. There is a lot more that just goes into it than just winning and losing games.
No, 100%. And that's why it's just so intriguing. I think we'll see. And this is why I'm really intrigued to see, UCF's potential, right? What is UCF's ceiling? Let's go into what we should look at for next season, right? Because it's Gus's first year, right? Dylan Gabriel, there was a little bit of rumors there, nothing sustainable. There was nothing that came out that said Dylan Gabriel's leaving, but Dylan Gabriel, you could tell he was only following 2 people. It wasn't Gus Malzahn. But
it's 0 now.
Yes, he has 0 follows. But he put out a tweet a couple days ago with, Gus Malzahn and Jalen Robinson talking, and he tweeted plotting, #GusBus. I think he's officially jumped on the Gus bus. Don't we want Dylan Gabriel on the Gus bus?
100% we want him on the Gus bus. I don't want him to leave, but I understand he was probably feeling hurt. Having his coach and his AD leave and not say anything to him, that's hard for a 20-year-old. We have to remember he is 20 years old. This is a lot for him. But who better to have as your head coach and to develop you as a quarterback than Gus Malzahn? I think that if he can get to DG and really talk to him, I think they'll stay. I think they'll create a bond, and I think it'll portray on the field, and he'll be great.
I think it'll be interesting to see who, because obviously Gus Malzahn is the OC. I don't know if they're going to hire an OC. I'm assuming not, but they're going to hire a quarterback's coach. So I'm going to be really interested to see who takes that role to develop Dylan along with Gus Malzahn. Before you go, Kelly, I'll give my thoughts after, but what is your predictions? What is the expectations, and what do you think will happen in Gus's first year as UCF head coach?
I'm not going to sit here and expect an undefeated season with a New Year's Six and all of that jazz. Would I like it? 100%, but I'm not going to put that on him. He just got here. I would love to see 8-9 wins. Maybe get to the conference championship. That would be great. But give him some time. Give him a year, maybe 2, to really get with his guys, really develop something that starts working. I'm glad we got him this early in the offseason so that they do have this time to kind of get the gears going for how it needs to for this season. But I have high hopes. I don't see us being like 0-12, however many years ago we did that. But I also don't see us going undefeated. So just like a nice medium to where everyone can be happy, better than last season is all I would really ask for.
Kelly, thank you for coming on. I really do appreciate it. So Kelly's probably more realistic than I am. I'm going to be honest, right? I think when you hire a guy like Gus Malzahn and you bring him into the program, I'm looking at this schedule. And I'm looking at some of the matchups. And listen, the American is very hard. You have teams that you play that are easy losses. I think you look at UCF's schedule, and there's 3 potential L's that UCF can take. It's number 1, home opener against Boise State. That's a surefire, national televised game, first game of the year at the Bounce House. Both teams have new head coaches. That could potentially be a loss. Boise State is still a great program. They are just along with UCF in that Power 5 or non-Power 5 team, right? They're right there with UCF. Now, UCF in a better place than Boise, like Orlando compared to Boise. Come on, it's no question. But that's a potential loss. Obviously, Cincinnati, that's on the road this year. That's a potential loss. Memphis, we already know with Memphis. Even though we usually beat them last year, you miss the field goal, you lose. Obviously, my expectations are a little higher, right? I don't think you bring in a guy like Gus Malzahn and lose 3 games. I think expectation, low ball is conference championship. Go to the conference championship. Not saying you got to win it. Now remember, again, like Kelly said, this is Josh Heupel's guys. This isn't Gus's guys. Josh Heupel's guys, again, you look at that defense, very young defense. We'll see what they can do to try to make that. Do not expect the top 15 defense this year. Let's get that one thing straight. This defense is not, I don't think, is good enough to be a top 15. Now, I hope they prove me wrong. That'd be amazing. If they could be a top 15 defense in the first year, that'd be amazing. But I think I do agree with Kelly. You have to wait a year, 2 years. Get his own guys in there, but he's a good enough coach to coach the guys we have, to be conference champions, and to go to a New Year's Six bowl game. That low end is conference championship. Because the problem with UCF the past couple years is we get out coached. You get into that third quarter, it's a close ball game, right? We make dumb decisions, dumb coaching decisions. Let's not sugarcoat it. Let's not sprinkle some fairy dust on it and we're going to call it like it is, right? Josh Heupel made very dumb decisions late in the game. Gus Malzahn has coached against much harder competition than East Carolina or a Tulsa, right? He's not going to make these dumb decisions at the end of the game to where we lose by 3 points, right? That's not going to happen. Memphis last year, it will not be a 50-49 game. I can promise you that. I can guarantee you it will not be a 50-49 game. Gus Malzahn and his staff will not let it be that close of a game. It's just facts. So, UCF will still have its high-powered offense. And here's my take. I think you could go undefeated. You can. I don't think they will. But they easily can with the schedule. If you start out the gate with a win at Boise, you just got to beat Memphis and Cincy, and that is an undefeated season. And then the Gus bus is riding. So we'll see how it is. We've got months away. Spring practice, very close. We'll see how he's integrating the offense, how he's integrating the players. Hey, we've got a couple recruits that possibly could join the team this season. We don't know if they're going to come here yet. It's very interesting. I think, all in all, what a great hire for UCF in the brand. This hire alone could put UCF not just back on the map, but way far into the national conversation than we were in 2017. Having a guy like him changes a lot. So we'll see, not just this year, but in the coming years, what that will do for the UCF brand. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Almost Game Day. Like always, please follow us on all the socials, my socials, Hitting the Field. Subscribe down below. We've got so great content. We got the NFL draft coming up. That's going to be interesting. We got so much more. Please come on back. I'm Sean Green. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you next week.